I talk about this subject a lot on my channel, and I've made videos that have been titled similar, if not outright titled the same, but I wanted to make this, and it's talking about streaming and the future of TV, specifically, when I say TV, linear broadcast television, because I don't hear it being talked about by a whole bunch of other people. I've heard a couple of official business channels making predictions about the future of linear TV, basically that they think it has no future. I don't totally believe that, and I'll go into detail as to why as I go along. So, TV in 2023 is basically split into 3 or 4 different formats. You've got your antenna format, which is one of the oldest formats of television. It's limited channels, but it's all digital now. You have to get a digital antenna. That's the easiest and the most free way to do any form of network television. Then you've got digital cable and satellite, which have been around for several years now, and they're very expensive. There's tons of channels, but most of the content on them is not new. It's just some of the more popular television shows that people like to watch being marathoned again and again, up until from morning until prime time. Then you've got streaming, which can be broken down into 2 forms. On-demand streaming, which is what the networks are all pushing, what the Hollywood studios and companies like Paramount, Warner Brothers, Disney, Netflix, Amazon, etc. are all pushing, is all streaming. And that's on demand, being able to choose your movies and television shows for a flat rate, being able to watch them all in one sitting, watch every episode, or watch episodes as they release chronologically and without ads for a premium. And then there's internet broadcast television, which is your Pluto TVs and Tubi TVs. That's the free tier, those services. And Warner Brothers is looking to add Warner Brothers Television or Warner Brothers TV. That's going to be their free streaming service that apparently they're looking into making. And then I heard just recently Netflix is looking at doing the same. They've been looking at doing it since 2021, 2022. I don't know when they're actually going to drop, but I guess they're in the works right now. And then there's the paid linear broadcast TV, which is basically cable and satellite, but instead of being delivered through cable and satellite, it's delivered through the internet. And that has multiple tiers that are more similar to cable and satellite tiers in terms of what channels you select. But they're on the same broadcast schedules as cable, and they work essentially the same. It's just the delivery method is different, and I think they're slightly cheaper than cable. I think they're a lot cheaper than cable, actually, because cable is usually bundled with internet services and so on and so forth, and phone services at one point. So there's several different formats of television, and the one that is being pushed the most is on-demand streaming, and for good reason, because again, on-demand streaming, you don't have ads if you choose a higher tier. You can watch whatever you want whenever you want, and you're not beholden to a broadcast schedule. There are people who think that going back to a broadcast schedule is obsolete, and I don't fully agree with that. If it's your only option, then yes, it might be obsolete, but it's not your only option. It is, I think, to go hand in hand with streaming, absolutely. And I think that's what it's doing right now, because there are some channels that will broadcast new episodes of a series, and then it will be available next day on the streaming services, which I think is the absolute best of both worlds to do it. So people who have linear TV can watch it on a linear TV schedule as they have time, and if they miss it, they can watch it on the streaming services. I believe that the future is not to eradicate linear television. A lot of people seem to think that it is. And a lot of companies seem to think that it is, which is very worrying. I don't want to see linear television disappear, because I grew up with it. It is a one-of-a-kind experience. It is something that you go to as opposed to something that comes to you, whereas on-demand streaming is more like that. It is something you enter into. I love programming blocks, bumpers, interstitials. I like movie marathons with hosts. All of that is so cool to me. That is all cool. Movies and cartoons for kids with their own hosts, and just the experience of going into something. A television network felt like a place that you visited. From childhood until adulthood, it felt like a place that you entered into for fun and entertainment. That's what TV felt like to me. Streaming has taken a lot of that away with it being on demand. You still get to watch your show, but it's a different experience, because it's not like, oh, hey, what's coming up next? Oh, I can choose what's coming up next. Okay, well, gee, I don't really know what I want to watch, you know? Maybe I'm, It's just different. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a different experience. It's not that it's better or worse. For some people, it's objectively better to do it that way, and fair enough. For me, it's there's something lost about that, which is why I don't subscribe to or pay for any of those services. But I do use services like Pluto TV and like Tubi TV, the free services that are more akin to linear broadcast, but they're custom made channels where you've got channels that are based off of one or two programs that are classics, and they just play them over and over again. It's great. It's really great. You know, I don't mind the ads. I grew up with ads on TV, so I can put up with them. If I don't like them, I just mute the thing. It's not that big of a deal. We're never going to have television that is free of advertisement. I made a short video just, I think, a couple days ago where I said streaming is becoming cable TV, and it's absolutely right, because what they're finding is they cannot support the streaming services they have based on subscriptions alone. It's not enough. It's not enough money, because they either have to raise the subscription prices to absurd degrees to make up for what they've lost, or they have to implement ads. And then they have to make tiers that are more expensive that don't have ads. And people don't like that. People feel like they're being strong-armed back into what cable effectively was. And at that point, some people go, well, I'd rather just go back to linear TV because, you know, there's ways to pay for it. There are ways that are cheaper. Some of these linear TV services might end up being cheaper than the on-demand streaming services if they play their cards right. Here's what I think needs to happen, okay? I don't know if this will happen. I don't know what any of the plans of the networks are, so I'm not even going to pretend to know that. What I think should happen is we need a model that is similar to what we're seeing emerge with Pluto TV and Tubi TV, where you've got live TV, but you've also got free on-demand stuff with ads. There needs to be a tier or service like that. There need to be tiers and services like that, and they are starting to make more, which I think is good. As far as linear TV is concerned, they need to adjust the pricing model and let people choose which networks they want. It is long past time for people to be beholden to paying for a tier of television and half of the channels they don't want, but they're paying for that tier because a channel they like is in that tier of package. People are tired of that. That's why they started cutting the cord in record numbers, is because it was so expensive and they were only justifying it to get the network that had the program that they wanted. At that point, they would rather just jump ship to streaming if they knew that program was guaranteed to them and with an added bonus without ads. But because the without ads thing tends to be disappearing, it's not worth it to people, which is why you've got stuff like Disney Plus losing over 4 million subscribers. It's just not worth it to people. We live in a time where the economy is strained. People don't have the disposable income that they once did. And when it comes to entertainment, there's more than enough free entertainment out there that Hollywood cannot compete with. The best they're doing is, again, Pluto TV, Tubi TV, WB TV coming at whatever point it does, and then whatever Netflix got in the works. Freevee from Amazon, I believe it's called. And then Roku's got their own free service that's got a couple channels. Sling launched a free TV model that's similar, and they've got a couple channels that the other ones don't. They have an ALF channel, which I thought was really cool. So, I mean, there's options out there. And then there's the antenna option for people who only want to watch stuff like MeTV, Antenna TV, Laugh, My Network Television, and then the regular networks for live sports and whatever, and for news. Which, by the way, if you like how TV used to be, one of the absolute best networks you can watch is MeTV. I'm not endorsed or paid to say any of that, full disclosure. I just freaking love that network. I love MeTV, and it is a growing network. It is gaining in popularity. People love it. They're adding all sorts of programming blocks to it. We're seeing programming blocks again. I haven't seen programming blocks for years. It gets me excited to watch that network. They've got morning and weekend Saturday morning cartoons. They've got blocks of genre programming. It's just great, and it's all classic stuff, real classics, like 1950s to 1990s. It's just great. It's really a great network, and you can get it over the air through digital antenna. It's awesome. It's really awesome. So that aside, I think the future of TV is absolutely bright, and I don't think that the death of linear TV is a net positive, and I don't think they should be pushing for that because, again, networks like MeTV are thriving because they're doing what people want them to do. The programming is there. They've got programming blocks. They've got hosts. They've got a nice system going. You know, there's still a place for linear TV, especially because if they lose money with streaming, they need a way to make it back. And you've got all of these linear TV services. YouTube's making a lot of money with the linear TV service. It's one of the ways they're staying profitable. It's great. But a lot of people are like, I don't use linear TV anymore, therefore it should die. Well, think about the radio. When television came along, it was basically video killed the radio star. I forget who sung that, but that idea came to fruition. Radio was reduced to cars and listening to it in your cars. Then, when satellite radio became a thing, it started to see a resurgence. You started to see more talk shows, and then podcasts started to become a thing. And so now you hear podcasts, and then internet radio in general started to just explode, and it is still exploding. You've got programs like iHeartRadio, Spotify, etc., etc. And so now people can have the radio in more places where they used to struggle to just get reception, and radio is better than it's ever been. And radio is much older than television as far as a legacy format. So I look at radio and I look at its future and I say linear TV is not dead. Linear TV going on the internet means it's got more life than ever. It's got more opportunities than ever. And as it blends with on-demand streaming, which is I think what should happen, the two need to blend so that people have more opportunities for both. As that happens, it only becomes more profitable for the studios / networks, and it allows them to spread out their content between formats and more people to see it. But the number one thing they need to do that they have not been doing is advertise. They need to advertise wherever they can. Do you know how many people don't know about MeTV? They don't know it's a channel that exists because I don't watch TV anymore. It's like, well, if you do, get a digital antenna, try to find a MeTV station and watch it. If you love classic TV like I do, then you'll love that network. I don't love all classic TV, but I love the programs that they show. It's very entertaining compared to today's drivel. It feels like TV used to. And it's good. It's not just an old folks network. It's everybody who enjoyed classic TV network. You know? But they don't advertise. I don't see them advertising on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or whatever. I'm not even on TikTok. Screw TikTok. But I'm not seeing the advertising. And so, of course, people don't know about this. People aren't going out of their way to look for this, especially younger generations who they didn't grow up with broadcast television, so why would they go looking for it? There's still a future for this thing, but it's got to be advertised and it's got to be made available to people. That's the difference. If you're going to compete with, and look, you're never going to truly win against the independent content creator, because the independent content creator isn't going to need your permission to make the things that they're going to make that people want. They're just going to make them. That's where Hollywood has become outdated, is that the independent content creator is going to make what people want without a board of directors or without the funding of a major studio and the permission for all of these things. They don't need to ask permission. They're going to do it with what they have. And that's why people like them. Hollywood can never understand this. Hollywood has to budget everything. They have to be overly cautious in terms of what they invest in. They don't take as much risks as they used to, and that's one of the reasons why they're failing. That's why they're losing to your average TikToker who's able to create more things in their kitchen or basement than Hollywood is able to create in their own freaking sound stages. The future should be both. All of these formats coming hand in hand and people having an abundance of variety of content from independents and Hollywood. And as far as the future of TV is concerned, you gotta make stuff available. I am all for more of these free TV services coming up, but they have to have programming. They have to put programming on there, and people will come. Pluto TV is doing tremendous. Same with Tubi. They're all doing great. People put them on all the time. You don't need a cable subscription. You don't need to pay anything. I'm sure at some point they'll have paid tiers and, so on and so forth, and they'll probably ruin it. But for right now, they've got one of the best business models that they could. It's just the advertising needs to get better, and they need to keep adding more channels with more content that they have rights to, which is a very difficult thing to do because they work out contracts with other networks that they originally, that they may have originally produced some of the older content for and all of that sort of stuff. But Warner Brothers owns a lot. Paramount owns a lot. Those two networks alone are half of television. Those two companies alone are half of television. Then you got Disney and Fox. So you get three free services from them. You can have the totality of TV for the past 50 to 100 years. Easily. For free with ads. Which is tremendous. For those who aren't interested in new TV or thinks that new writing is terrible, it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. So my advice to them going forward, not that they would ever listen to a bumpkin like me, would be invest in those services. Put more things in those services. Can you imagine if Tubi had a Simpsons channel? Can you imagine that for Simpsons fans? That'd be great. Get to marathon old and new Simpsons. It'd be awesome. A Family Guy channel, maybe? Or just do a combination of Fox Animation. You get King of the Hill, you get Simpsons. You do like what they're doing on FXX and Freeform, where you marathon these back to back to back. People would watch it all the time. It'd be great, and you'd make the ad revenue. People would watch it. They'd have it on in the background. It's just good TV. People go where the content is, and they need to distribute the content well enough. And I think that these new sort of hybrid linear TV / streaming services that are free with ads are going to be the way forward for a lot of them, to at least to supplement this. And then with linear TV, last I'll say about linear TV as it exists right now, the companies that offer linear TV need to let people choose their networks. That's the first thing. The second thing is the networks need to put the content there and not just dump everything to on-demand streaming. They need to put the content there. They need to simulcast it, broadcast it on TV, next day streaming, or reverse. Either way, both formats need to have the content. If they don't, then the customer is going to be the one that suffers, plain and simple. So let me know what you think the future of TV is. What do you prefer? Do you prefer linear? Do you prefer on demand? Do you prefer both? How do you think both can mesh together and work together to generate good enough profit and produce more creativity for these networks and studios? How do you think it's all going to work out? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Super Koopa TV with another edition of Koopa Talks. I will see you guys next time. God bless. Have a good one. Peace.